All right, guys, we are live. What's happening? Hope everyone's doing well, and you're getting ready for the Christmas holiday. I'm very excited to be going live with you guys here today. My Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple community. Welcome, everyone. Today's going to be a very, very exciting day because we're going to be diving into the steps to wholesale houses from home anywhere in the country from start to finish. I'm going to take you through a deal from the very beginning to the end, all the steps that you need to do in between to make sure that you're set up for success, and get you guys started off on the right foot. So if you are in that situation where you're wanting to get started with virtual wholesaling, which I highly recommend going in 2024, a lot of exciting changes in the real estate market that are going to open up a wave of opportunity for wholesalers, wholesaling houses virtually. You want to go ahead and be on this live today. If you're watching the recording of the live, then watch this from beginning to end and definitely drop your name in the comments so I know that you've got a chance to watch, and any questions you have, love to be able to answer those for you. So, all right, so let's get rocking and rolling. So today, what we're going to be talking about, again, is the steps to wholesale houses from home anywhere in the country. All right, so the first thing, and well, actually, before I even get started here and go into that, go ahead, if you're watching this live, go ahead and drop your name in the comments so I know who's on here and I can see where you're watching from. I love doing that, and I thrive off of interaction here. So I don't want this to be a speak fest with me just sitting here talking, right? And that's it. I'd love to answer some questions. So if you do have questions, I'd love to see you drop some of those in the chat. So. And if you don't see the chat and you're watching this on YouTube, then go ahead and just make ask your question in the comments. Good. Okay, great. So why don't we go ahead and we're just going to go ahead and dive in. Fantastic. So let's talk about what do you need to do first. So before I even get there, let's talk about why virtual. So there's a lot of people that are getting into wholesaling and they're like, oh, I want to do, should I wholesale houses locally? Should I wholesale somewhere else, different state? And there's several different reasons why people would want to start wholesaling houses in other states. Okay. So I'll give you a handful of reasons why someone may want to wholesale in a different state or a different area than the one they're in. So I have some coaching clients that say, hey, I live in a very small rural town. Maybe there's 5,000 people. Can I wholesale houses here? Right. And my answer is yes, you can, but it's probably going to take you about a year to do that. Right. With only 5,000 homeowners. I mean, you're not going to have a lot of demand for buyers wanting to buy in that area. It's going to be very, very tough to find a buyer. And if you do have sellers that are going to sell, you may get it under contract, but again, selling that property is going to be a big problem, right? So as wholesalers, we are all about finding out what our buyers want, right? And then going and finding that opportunity for them. Okay. So if we're going into an area that buyers want to buy in, then we want to go ahead and find out what they want, find our buyer first, and go and get them what they want. Okay. So we are simply matchmakers as wholesalers. That's what we do. Wholesaling is not a real estate business, okay? It's a sales and marketing business. So you have to understand that. So once you understand that, you can set yourself up for success. The reason why most wholesalers struggle is because they don't understand that and they think wholesaling is a real estate business. But in reality, it really has nothing to do with real estate outside of the fact that, the piece of paper we have the property we have under contract, we're like selling that piece of paper, right? So let's go ahead and dive in. So areas to avoid as a wholesaler, okay? So areas you want to avoid as a wholesaler are rural areas. So if you're in an area with a population of under 250,000, chances are you are probably in an area where there's a lot of mountains. Maybe there's again, it's very rural. Houses are very spread out. Going to be tough to wholesale in those types of areas. And the reason for that is because, again, you're running into an issue of it's not a major metro that everybody's flocking to or moving to because of job growth and everything like that. It's kind of out in the sticks. And, there's not the same demand that are in those major metros. So what we want to do is we want to start in areas where wholesaling is going to be easier for us. And where is it easier? In places where people are moving to, where people want to buy. Okay. We don't have to convince people to buy in a certain area. It's a given. People want to buy there. All right. So the magic formula that I have is if you're in an area, if you're looking at a new area and you want to go into a certain territory, you want to see if that territory is going to be a good move for you. What you want to focus on is areas that have a population of a minimum of 250,000 people. You put in that city, state, county, whatever you want to do into Google population. It'll come back and tell you the population there, right? The next thing you want to do is you want to look at the median home price. Okay, so we need a median home price of minimum of $200,000. So what is median home price? You go to Google, you type in whatever area you're going into. Let's just give you an example. Hillsborough County is in Florida, right? So you type in Hillsborough County, Florida, median home price. It'll tell you exactly what the median home price is. So with that being said, the median home price needs to be minimum of $200,000. What's median home price? If you have home prices on a scale like this on a timeline, you have the cheap house over here, 50K or less, and you have the $1 million house or more over here. You know, the median home price is the one in the middle. It's the most common type of property that is bought by the buyers in that area. It's the most desirable, right? So our median home price needs to be a minimum of $200,000. If it's not, what we've seen is areas are more rural. Maybe there's not as much desirability there. Maybe, you know, it's not a booming area where people are moving to. And so we like to stay away from those types of areas because we find that we'll put in a lot of effort and time into getting deals, and you don't make a lot of money on the deals that you do when you do them, right? But as opposed to a different area that has a median home price of 200,000 or more, minimum population size of 250,000, you're going to find that you're going to make great money in these areas, and it's going to be much easier to wholesale than those other lower end, more rural type of areas, right? So that is what you want to do. So you want to avoid rural areas as a wholesaler, okay? The second type of area you want to avoid are areas that are on the total polar opposite end of that, right? Where what you have is you have houses that are, let's call this area, it's too desirable, right? So certain areas in California, Manhattan, New York, right, where you have, you know, average home prices of like, you know, $800,000, $1 million or more, that type of thing, you can wholesale there, all right? But the issue is that there's going to be a lot of competition, number one. Number two, it's going to be very expensive to get deals. But, and you're not going to do deals frequently, okay? You're going to do, maybe you'll do, you know, a deal every 3 months, but it's going to be a massive deal. It's probably going to be a deal that's in the range of 5 to 6 figures in size, right? So that can be good, right? But that can be discouraging for a lot of people starting out because they market for months and months and months. They hear no. And then 90 days later, they finally get their deal. A lot of people don't even make it to the 90-day mark. And so that's what I want to avoid for you. I want to help you, show you how to get deals easier, right? Where you can go into areas where you can make fantastic money, right? $15,000 to $20,000 a deal. And you can get deals fairly quickly. Okay. So that's what I'm all about. I'm all about speed, right? So picking a territory, again, avoiding areas that are rural, avoiding areas that are too competitive, prices are too high, places, again, like Los Angeles, California, places like Manhattan, New York, those types of places are very, very difficult to do deals. You're going to spend a lot of money marketing, get deals. And when you do get deals, it's not going to be frequent, right? It's going to take a while. But again, the good side of that is they're going to be larger deals. So that is, if you want to go into those types of areas, I recommend having another area that you go into that's easier to get deals, and you can also market to that other area as kind of like a cherry on top. So that's what I recommend if you're in those areas. So if you're like, Chris, I'm living in these areas, you're saying I can't do deals here? Not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying you want to market to places that'll be easier to get deals, and you can market to that type of place as well, but you just don't want it to be the area that you solely depend on for your deals, because you're going to see a lot of money going out in marketing, right? And it's going to take time for that to come back in to get a return, and you need to be able to wait that out. So that's the reason why I don't recommend going to those places right off the cuff. So if that makes sense, go ahead and drop a comment letting me know that that makes sense to you, so I can see that you guys understand that and get that. If you have any questions on that, happy to answer. So again, picking a territory, that's the first step. You got to pick a territory. So I told you the magic combination of picking a territory. That's a minimum home price of median home price of 200,000, minimum population size of 250,000, right? If you have that, you can easily find it through a free tool on Google. And that is how you pick a territory, okay? There's deeper you can go into that, in which I share with my coaching clients about how you can identify the hottest zip code in a market and all that. But, starting out, if you don't have a coach yet, right, and you just want to get started virtual wholesaling, the 250-200 method, that is going to get you close enough to the money where you can pick a great market and you can get started right away. So that's what I want, guys. I want you to be able to take what I'm sharing with you right now today, and I want you to be able to go out and take massive, immediate, imperfect action. Stop analyzing. Don't worry about the latest and greatest CRM that you need. Don't worry about a business logo. Don't worry about a business name, anything like that. None of that matters when you're just getting started. Sellers do not care about it. I can't tell you how many business cards I gave away that probably got chucked in the trash. I wasted so much time getting started, worrying about all the wrong things that don't even matter in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, all it does is bog you down and prevent you from doing deals. So remember that. Next. All right. So we talked about a territory. So if everybody's clear in territory, I'm going to go ahead and move on. One more thing on territory. There are certain states, right now, Oklahoma and Illinois are two states that made it to where you cannot wholesale unless you have a real estate license. Okay, so this is also a benefit to virtual wholesaling too. If you're located in those states and you don't have a real estate license, you don't want to get a real estate license, you can wholesale houses from home anywhere in the country. So you could be in Illinois, wholesale houses in Florida, and you're good to go. Now, obviously, any advice I give you today, it's not legal advice or anything like that. You want to run it by an attorney, do your own due diligence, all those disclaimers, right? But the point is if you're not in an area that is desirable to wholesale, then your options are not shut off. It's not like you have to move. So if you didn't know how to wholesale houses from home, you'd have to physically move to wholesale somewhere else, right? I don't want that for you. You can run this entire business from your bedroom if you want, right? Just a laptop and a phone. That's all you need. So picking a territory. So we're all clear in territory. Let me check the comments. Max says, hi, Chris. Yes, understood. Vicky says, yes, love it. Boom. Good stuff. All right, so let's keep going here. So next, right, picking a marketing channel. So picking a marketing channel is key. So what is a marketing channel? All right. So a marketing channel is a method of outreach to sellers. That's simply it, right? So there's a lot of different options out there. Okay. You have mail. Okay. So sending postcards, sending letters. You can pick up the phone and call sellers. You can send text messages to sellers. You can do Facebook ads. You can do Google PPC. There's a lot of different methods of marketing and they all work. Okay. But there is one that has worked best for us and that we've used the most consistently over the last 5 to 7 years in our business that has just outmatched all other marketing channels, and it has given us a higher ROI, been more consistent. So it's given us a higher return on our marketing investment, and it's been very predictable in one of the craziest real estate markets that we've had in a very long time. The last 10 years was in 2021, 2022, right? In that time, people were buying leads on Google, paying almost $400 a lead, right? So the method that we chose was cold calling, all right? And our cost per lead was $67 in the most competitive real estate markets in the last 10 years, all right? Crazy. Nobody can believe it, right? So when I show them the results, they're like, oh, well, that's insane. How can I do that, right? So what we did is we started cold calling ourselves, and I recommend that for everybody if they're just getting started, right? Just so you can understand how it works, you can get a flow of how it goes, but you don't want to marry it. You don't want to be there for long, okay? You just want to do it enough to where you understand the process and you can train somebody else to do it, okay? So ideally, you'd want to have an overseas VA, virtual assistant, someone to make the calls for you. So that way they're digging through the list, they're finding your list of sellers, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and they're finding the gold, the sellers that want to sell right now, okay? The magic combination that we have found is people who want to sell within 90 days, okay? 90 days or less, and they're asking within 80% of the Zillow Zestimate. So if you have a property, you're on the phone with a seller, go ahead and put that property address into your browser, go to Zillow, and see what the Zestimate is. If the seller's asking 80% or less than that, that is the start of a great lead. If you have those two paired together, 90 days or less and 80% of the Zestimate or less, that is what we call a hot lead. And typically it takes roughly about 10 of those to turn into a contract. Okay, what is a contract? It's a purchase contract where the seller says, yes, I agree to your offer. Okay, so That being said, you want to eventually have someone take that off your hands and do that for you. We have a system for that for our coaching clients where that's exclusive to our coaching clients. So we'll go ahead and find these VAs for you, put them on your team. We do all the training and oversee them and all that stuff. And you just have to call sellers and do deals. So, but if you don't have that and you're not a coaching client, then there's places you can go to find overseas VAs. Outbounders.com is a great place. Again, you have to recruit them on your own, find them, train them, hire them, and do all that stuff. So there's a couple extra steps there, but you can do it. Outbounders.com is a great place to locate reps if you're just getting started and you're looking to do that. So pick a marketing channel. So again, a lot of those different marketing channels, they work, right? Texting has been very up and down over the last several years, very up and down. 1 minute's working, next minute's not. 1 minute's working, next not. So you don't want to pick a marketing channel that is seasonal, a marketing channel that that works 1 minute and then it doesn't the next minute as your primary way of reaching sellers. Okay. So I have a lot of coaching clients that come in, they're like, Chris, should I, why cold calling? Why shouldn't I do texting? And I explain the reason and they're like, okay, that makes sense. Right. So if a marketing channel is like that, where it's really up and down, okay, unstable, unpredictable, you want to have that as like a gravy. So you got your mashed potatoes, right? Getting ready for Christmas. You can tell I'm kind of getting hungry here, right? Haven't had lunch yet. You got your mashed potatoes, which is your core marketing channel, right? And then you want other strategies like that to be just the gravy on top, where if you get a little less gravy 1 month, it doesn't matter. If you get a little more gravy, fantastic, but it's not going to make it or break it if you all of a sudden run out. Okay. So hope you guys like that reference. So anyway, so that's what I recommend. So cold calling for us has been the best. Reaching sellers, picking up the phone and calling them is the fastest way to get in touch with sellers. I don't care what anybody else says. It's the fastest and best way to reach out to sellers. Okay. Mail is my second favorite. I love direct mail. We did it for a long time, but cold calling, if you're just getting started, is really the best way. There's a lot of steps to mail that you can learn the hard way that can end up costing you a lot of money. So I say in the beginning, you want to use a marketing channel that doesn't require a large investment, and it allows you to get results predictably. So that way you can get your first deal. And then when you get your first deal, you can reinvest those dollars from that deal. About 20% you want to take out of that deal and reinvest it into your marketing to get seller leads easier. Okay. So you hustle and grind to get your first deal. Then your second deal, you want to reinvest some of those dollars from that hustle and grind. So you don't want to be stuck in the hustle. Okay. Reinvest some of those dollars from that hustle and grind. And then from there, you can invest that into ways to get sellers easier. Okay. Like hiring someone to make the calls for you, investing in mail, those types of things, right? So we talk about a marketing channel, pick one, they all work. I recommend cold calling. That's the best for people to get started. So let's go ahead and talk about where do you find the lists, okay? So some of you guys say, Chris, that's great. So where do I find these homeowners who are willing to sell for, 50 to 60% off retail value? And why would they want to do that? Let's talk about why, okay? The reason why homeowners are willing to sell for 50 to 60% of retail value is because you're not buying their house or you're not getting their house in perfect, fully renovated condition. Okay. These properties need a lot of work, and these sellers have put off this work for a very long time. So because they put off this work for so long, things have kind of begun to stack and stack and stack, and small repairs become larger repairs, and those larger repairs become even larger and larger and larger before it's like this big, overwhelming snowball for these sellers that we're talking to, and they just don't know what to do anymore. So they throw up their hands. They're like, I didn't have money for the first repair. I definitely don't have money for the repair of the house, the condition, and now. So I don't know what to do. Ring, ring. You get a call from a wholesaler like yourself. Hey, I came across your property. I've went through Main Street. Want to see if you'd consider a cash offer for that property there. And in their mind, they're like, oh, this guy's such a blessing. Or this girl's such a blessing. I'm going through all these issues with the property. I got all these repairs stacking and everything. And I just want to get rid of this house. I can use some extra cash for the holidays. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'd consider an offer on that property. Boom. There you go. So the science is making sure that you're reaching out to the right homeowners that have motivation. Okay. So we understand why now that sellers sell for a complete discount. The reason why sellers sell for discount is because there are things going on with that property that prevent them from being able to list with a realtor and get top dollar for the property. Heck, most realtors don't even want to list these types of properties because the sellers don't have any money to clean them up, right? And to get them show ready. These sellers don't want to have their houses a whole bunch of pictures taken and just blast it all over Zillow and all that. They don't want that. So that's why someone who is easy and convenient, like a wholesaler, like us, right, is a great option for them, because it's all about speed and convenience. That's what we offer. We don't pay top dollar, but we offer speed and convenience. A seller who says, I need to sell right now, and I want to take what I want from the house and I want to leave the rest. I want to leave the house a total mess and you can just take it over, right? So that's why sellers work with wholesalers. So if you ever wondered why, that's why. All right. So let's go ahead. We've talked about marketing channels. What we found real quick, one last thing on marketing channel. When it comes to cold calling, we found roughly it takes 25 to 35 leads to get a contract. Okay. Now, what is considered a lead? There's a lot of people that have a lot of very weird definitions of what a lead is. Okay. And a lot of people's version of a lead in my mind is not a lead at all. It's just a record, right? It's a suspect. It's someone who, okay, great. You're the person that owns a house and you'd be open to selling for an astronomical price. Fantastic. Okay. Like a lot of people think that that's a lead. I don't consider that a lead. What I consider a lead is if you have the 4 pillars of motivation. Okay. So the first one is time frame. Are they willing to sell in 90 days or less? Fantastic. Ding, ding. First check mark, right? Second, okay. Do they have a fair asking price? Okay. Is their asking price within 80% of the Zestimate or less, or if they're asking the Zestimate or less, are they flexible in their price? Yes. Check mark number 2, right? So we have timeline, price, okay? Motivation. This is the one you want to spend the longest time on, okay? Motivation. Like, why are they selling? Why are they even talking to you? Why are they even open to a conversation about selling? I don't believe for a second these people that we call that say something like, oh, well, I'm only interested in selling because you called me. No, that's totally wrong. That's a lie. That's a lie. They're open to the conversation because of a specific reason they're not telling you. And so you have to find out what that reason is. One of my coaching clients came to me the other day and said they have a seller that the reason they want to sell is because they are preparing to move. They got a job in another state and they got to move, right? That's crazy motivating circumstances because the job says you need to be in this state by this time, right? Otherwise, no job for you, right? So they got a timeline now. They're in a crunch time. They got to sell their house. They got or put a tenant in place to rent it out. What do they got to do? They are in motivation mode, right? They got to get that thing done. So very motivating circumstance. So price, timeline, motivation. You want to find out that motivation, okay? And condition. That's the last one. So price, timeline, motivation, and condition. Motivation is the one you spend the longest time on. Really digging into that with the seller. Really tell me more about that. Okay, you have to be up there by January. What happens if you're not? Are they going to let you go? Are they going to give you more time? Will it cost you more money? Talk to me about that. And they're just going to tell you all these things that you can use and later come back and say, well, Mr. Seller, I understand you said that my price isn't going to work for you. What is your what's the alternative? What other options do you have? Well, I'll wait it out and I'll just sell. Okay, well, properties are taking about 90 days to sell in the market right now. Your job is saying you have to be there in 60 days. So what's next? And they're going to tell you, they're going to be like, oh, well, maybe I'd have my friend or sister watch my property. Yeah, but what happens if someone breaks into it, right? You kind of got to walk them down that path to eventually you're leading them down to the ultimate solution, which is obviously where they work with you, okay? So motivation, huge. So we consider a lead someone that has those 4 pillars of motivation, okay? So if you have those 4, fantastic. If someone just says they want to sell, they're willing to sell for an astronomical price and, maybe they'll sell in 6 months, maybe a year, that's not a lead. That's poo-poo, right? So we we don't invest a lot of time into those because there's not there's not a lot of there's not a reason to invest more time. If you have those 4 pillars of motivation, there's reason to invest more time with those people, right? So just say next to those others and move on, right? Okay, so marketing channel, we talked about that. We got that, right? So next, take a list. All right, so one of the best places to get lists from, and outside of one other source, this is the best place and the only place we get our leads, is PropStream. Get a free account. You get a 7-day free trial by going to getpropstreamnow.com. Okay. And they'll give you 10,000 records per month you can download for only $97 a month. All right. Huge. So go there. It'll save you a ton of money. And you'll need to you'll need to, there's a lot of different choices you can have on lists. I can go into that here in just a second. But bottom line is this is where you're going to find motivated sellers. Okay. So what types of lists should you pull on PropStream? Okay. So let's talk about that. And then I can even kind of dive into PropStream, show you how that looks here in just a second. But some great lists, classics, vacant houses. Vacant houses are phenomenal. All right. In the real estate market we're in, where real estate is just incredibly desirable, not enough inventory to go around, rents are sky high. Everybody wants a house. Inventory is very, very low. To have a vacant house is very strange. Okay. And it's a huge signal of motivation. Now, there's other things you can put on top of vacant houses. Like you could say, okay, let's say this landlord, he lives in he owns the property. So this guy, he owns a rental, it's vacant, and he lives out of state. So not only is the property hard to manage for him because he's in another state, but at the same time, it's sitting vacant, running the risk of getting broken into. That asset is not, well, what he thought was going to be an asset to bring him money, okay, through rent and having a tenant in place is now costing him a lot of money. Okay, it's now become a liability. The assets become a liability. So those sellers, we want to talk to them more. It's less of an emotional thing with them. It's not like they grew up in the house, their family, 3 generations of their family live there, and you have to build a lot of rapport there. These guys, they're all about cut and dry. This is your assets turn into a liability, and I want to help you cash out so you can relieve yourself of the headache, not have to worry about managing a property in another state, and you can take a boatload of cash you'll make from this and move on, right? So say I could offer you something that made sense for you today. You wouldn't want to move forward, would you? Right? Immediately, yes, they would. Okay. So vacant is a signal that person wants to potentially sell. Okay. But you can add other types of motivation on there. Let's say it's a vacant house in another state and that house is facing foreclosure. So it's a pre-foreclosure property. That being said, it's a vacant house. The guy lives in another state and he's facing foreclosure. Please take my house. Right? So you can really start to stack these types of motivations. You can even take it a step further. Okay, the guy, he lives in another state. The house is facing foreclosure. And guess what? He's got liens against the property. Man, how motivated do you think he's going to be if he lives in another state, the house is facing foreclosure, it's vacant, and he's got liens against the property that are racking up every single day? Well, how do you know that? Again, you can find that in PropStream. So just go to getpropstreamnow.com and you can get it and check it out. I'll even show you here in just a second how to figure all that out. But I'm going to go through a couple of different lists that you can pick. And that way you're setting yourself up for success. Okay. All right. So we talked about vacant houses. Again, liens. Liens are great lists. Okay. So we're talking about, HOA liens. Okay. Homeowners Association liens. We're talking about mechanic liens. Mechanic liens are, like if someone paid a roofer to redo, to replace the roof, and let's just say they told the roofer to go kick rocks, they're not paying him for it. The roofer is going to place a lien against that property, and that's what's called a mechanic's lien. Okay, so if you have a lien against the property, that's again a signal of motivation that homeowner may be in a situation where they can't afford their bills and they may want to sell. All right, so that's huge. So other types of liens are water shutoff liens. Okay, so utility liens. These are big for vacant properties. So the reason that that's a big deal is because let's say a landlord owned a property, or a guy owns a property who lives in another state, like I mentioned, right? And let's say, for instance, his last tenant was supposed to, the water was in his name, and the last tenant was supposed to pay the utilities, but they didn't pay the utilities. The owner got stuck with it, and he's like, I'm not paying it. That's their water bill, right? That's a huge signal that they had a terrible tenant in that property, and he may want to get rid of it because he's obviously not managing the property very well. Okay. So liens are great. Again, something else you can find in PropStream. Okay. Now, one of my personal favorites is tired landlords. These are people, sellers, homeowners that own rental properties, and they've had them for anywhere from 15 to 20 years. Okay. I think PropStream may even shave it down to 10 years. But anyway, 10 years or more, 15 years or more. These are people that are very motivated to sell their properties because they've ridden the highs and lows of the market. Chances are they bought this property when things were low, when prices were low. Now the prices are high, they're looking to cash out. So this is a phenomenal type of seller you can work with right now. Okay. They've, in my experience with landlords, after doing it for that long, they're like, I could really use a lump sum of cash, and I'd be 100% open to never having to deal with this tenant ever again. So tire landlords are great. So this is a great source of records. So what I'm going to do real quick, so I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you PropStream and where you can find these lists, right? And how you would go in and just go ahead and how you'd go ahead and pull these. 1 second here. Okay. So let's give you an example here. So this is PropStream. I'm already logged in here. Go ahead and drop a comment to let me know you can see it. I just want to know that you guys can see PropStream here. You can see my screen. Got to run a meeting. Great. Catch replay. Okay, perfect. So here we go. So we're on PropStream, right? And basically, let's just say you want to go into Duval County in Florida, right? That's one of the markets that we're in. Duval County in Florida. All right. So let's say what you want to do is you want to look for vacant properties. Okay. So it's already preset for you. So you have all these filters. You can do vacant liens, pre-foreclosures. You can do senior owners. We talked about tired landlords. That list's already done for you. Great stuff, right? So we have vacant properties. Now, let's say the owner does not live there. So it's an absentee owned property. Okay. The owner is a landlord. He does not live in the property. Boom. Owner occupied, no. So we have vacant. So we don't have to select vacant here because it's already selected as the pre-choice there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to come over here and let's go to ownership info. Okay. So we're going to select here an owner type who's an individual. All right. Not saying you can't get deals from investors, seasoned investors who own properties. They have LLCs and corporations and things like that. But that's not the seller we're looking to deal with. We're looking at the seller that is an inexperienced landlord, got themselves in way over their head. They don't know what to do. And we want to be the blessing to their situation. Okay. So what you have here is you have owner type, individual here. Actually for this type of situation, we want to do something different. We want to do tired landlords. Okay. So let me do this here. So tired landlords. Okay. The owner type's an individual. So we got that already selected. The next thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and do valuation equity. We want to look for properties that have a minimum of 50% equity or higher. Okay. So half the house is paid off. And we want to include unknown equity right here. Okay. So we got tired landlords. They've owned the property. I believe PropStream's filters 10 years or more. We've seen a lot of success with 15 years or more. You can manually go ahead and set that. But just to make things easy, just go ahead and leave it as is. So tired landlords, individuals and owner, has 50% or more equity in the property. All right. Include unknown equity. That's really important. And then what you want to do then is you want to go to, give me 1 second here, property characteristics. Okay. We want to come over here and we want to do single family houses. That's what I recommend everybody start off with, single family homes. All right. So we got that. So let's look at what we got here. We got tired landlords who own houses, single family houses. They're an individual owner. They have 50% or more equity. We include unknown equity, and we want to find out if the owner lives out of state. So let's go to ownership info. Okay. Absentee owner location. We can do out of state, and we can also do out of the country. Huge motivation, right? So you saw that whittled that 25,000 records down to 3,246. So if you want to even make this a smaller list, you can take, out of county. Let's do out of state. Out of state's more motivation. 1,354. All right. So you got that. So you have people that own rental properties. All right. Single family houses. They live out of state. So the property's hard to manage. And they've owned the property for a long time. So chances are they want to get rid of it. And there's 50% or more equity in the property. Now, let's say you want to take this a step further and you want to manually call only the hottest sellers. So what you're going to do is you're going to come over here. Okay. And you're going to select this right here. Notice of default. So these are people that are facing foreclosure. They live out of the state. Their property's facing foreclosure. They've owned the property for a long time. They have 50% or more equity, a screaming hot wholesale deal. You can even select auctions. The difference between an auction and notice of default lis pendens, this is a notice. So this means they've been probably, I would say, 60 days behind on their mortgage. And the bank is saying, hey, here's a notice on your door. You're 60 days behind. If you don't get caught up, okay, we're going to foreclose on your property. Right? So it's a notice. That's what it is. So they're motivated, but they're even more motivated if an auction date's set. That means the auction date is probably 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away. They've waited too long. Now they got to sell it, right? So as you notice here, this didn't make it too big of a difference with the numbers, but sometimes there's like 1 or 2, and those are screaming hot sellers to call. Only thing I ask, guys, if you're going to be working with pre-foreclosure properties, you want to make sure that you're working with, if you're brand new and you don't have a huge buyer's list, you want to build a relationship with an experienced wholesaler that does have a large buyer's list, because I want you to keep in mind, these guys are on sensitive time frames, okay? If they get a foreclosure, that's a life-altering change that could affect their credit for the next 10, 15 years. And so if you are going to be confident enough to put an offer in on a property with sellers in that type of situation, you want to make sure you can do something with it. So that way you don't waste their time. And from there, something bad happens, then we do not want that. So establish a relationship with a wholesaler in your area. You can easily do this in Facebook groups. Okay. And once you have a wholesaler that you know that posts a lot of posts in those Facebook groups, and you have a conversation with them, they say they have a lot of buyers, they can move anything as long as the numbers make sense, like we can in areas like this, then those are the people you want to work with, because we really want to deliver for these homeowners. We are providing a service. I want you to keep that in mind. We're providing a service. All right. So seller lives out of state. He's owned the property for 10 or 15 years or more. He is facing foreclosure. The property's become a burden. All right. He is 50% or more. There's 50% or more equity in the property. And guess what? You can put that the property is vacant. So if you were just getting started and you wanted to go ahead and reach out to sellers, pick up the phone and make calls, these 2 sellers are the ones I'd call, right? So I'd call those, and then I would come over here and go to any like this, and I would call 10 of these. I'd get a deal. Guarantee you there's a deal in here. All right. So that's what I would do. So I'd go in here and I'd do this, and that's how you can do it. And again, you can even make more motivation here. You can come over here and you can do lien amount $5,000. You guys see how powerful PropStream is? I mean, this is crazy. All right. So so let's do 2,000. I like to usually do 5,000 or more, but let's do 2,000 and see what's there. So nothing's there. Okay. There's plenty of motivation here anyway. There's like 3 different situations. Out of state, he's owned the property for a long time. He's facing foreclosure. So a lot of good stuff there. So that's what I would do there. But that's the power of this, okay? So let me stop sharing my screen for a minute. All right, so now let's go back and talk about the other lists. So we got the liens list. Again, you can pull the liens list very easily, like I showed you. If you want to go to PropStream again here, we can clear out all this. You go to filter. There's a actual liens list here. There's a liens list. And then you can set your criteria over here like I did. But super easy to do. Highly recommend it. PropStream is the only tool that I use for this. So that's what you want to do. All right. So now let's talk about what to do with the list once you got it. Okay. So now you got the list of homeowners that are motivated to sell. You got to get the phone numbers for them. So how do you do that? Right. So you download that list from PropStream, and you're going to upload it to a service we use called LeadFuzionLists. All right. Now, very important. Do not just go to LeadFuzionLists.com, because you're not going to get my discount. You're not going to get all the bonuses that I include, and you're not going to get access to some pretty cool features in there. All right. So go to Lead. Take this right here. I know it's a little bit of a beast to type up. I'm working on a shorter link, but go to LeadFuzionList.com/page/VWMS. Okay. And if you do that, you'll see a picture of me. So it's my smiling face on that page, or you'll see a logo for Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple, and you'll be able to get a discount. That discount is 6 cents per record. So if you skip trace, with skip tracing, uploading a list to LeadFusion of those property owners, and the skip tracing service is literally putting a phone number with those records. That's what skip tracing is. And if you go to that site, what'll happen is they will put phone numbers to those records for you. And that way you can start making calls to those property owners. Now, do not make calls to these property owners with your cell phone. Don't do it. Okay. A lot of different reasons, but the short of it is some of these people, you just don't want them having your phone number. So what you want to do is you want to go on google.com/voice, start up a free Google Voice account, use that as your phone number, and then call sellers and text them on that number. If you're calling somebody and they don't pick up, I recommend calling them twice back to back, right? And then sending a text message. Always leaving a voicemail too. Hey, my name's so-and-so. I came across your property off 123 Main Street, and want to see if you consider a cash offer, please call me back. Or if you want to be even more cryptic to guarantee they call you back, say, hey, my name's John. I came across your property, went through Main Street. Please call me back as soon as possible. It's very important, right? You may get some people that are a little angry, but they're going to return your call. So that's the biggest thing. And then when you talk to them, say, oh yeah, it's important. I came across property, looks like a great property. I'm looking for another property to buy in this area. I want to see if you consider a cash offer. They're either going to hang up for you or they're going to say yes. If they don't hang up on you, then that's a great seller and you want to continue to work with them. If they do hang up, you can call them back and say, hey, I think we got disconnected. Wasn't sure if it was my line or yours. Anyway, want to see if you consider a cash offer for your property, And so you can do that. And that's how you do it. But skip LeadFuzionLists. This is a great source here where you can go ahead and where you can get accurate, reliable phone numbers at a reasonable price. And you can call those sellers right away and start making contact. Contacts lead to contracts. Remember that. The more contacts you make, the more contracts you're going to get. A lot of wholesalers sit there and make calls like, I'm doing this activity. I'm making deals. Cool. Well, talk to me. How many calls did you make? Oh, I dialed for an hour, once a week. Okay. Well, not enough activity. Okay. So how much activity should you do? As many calls it takes to get a deal. That's how much activity you should do. Then once you have your first deal, you can track your activity daily in a little journal. All right. And you can see how many calls it took you to get a seller to say yes, right? From there, you know how many calls it takes you to get a deal, and you can know what to expect moving forward. And it's going to make the journey a lot more enjoyable because you know where you're going. Got to track your numbers, okay? The best wholesalers, okay? We've scaled our business to over 7 figures, and other wholesalers that have gotten to that point too, they all track their numbers. If you say, hey, how many leads did it take you to contract? 35. How many calls did it take you to get a deal? 300, whatever, right? So they all know their numbers. So you want to know your numbers, okay? You can have a 7-figure mindset starting out, never done a deal before, applying that, and start walking the path of that journey and getting results. And I promise you're going to get a deal much faster if you know your numbers than if you did just by random activity and you have no idea what it took to get that deal, okay? Very important. It's going to be even more important. I say 7-figure mindset because as you start to grow, as you start to do more deals, you're going to start putting systems, people, and processes in place to automate certain things, okay? And it's very important as a business owner that you have a pulse on the business of what's happening so you know exactly what it takes to get deals. So that way you can see if things are working or if they're not working. But if you never track your stuff in the beginning, you're never going to get to that level. So I want you to begin with the end in mind, okay? Think like a 7-figure wholesaler before you even got your first deal. And I promise you'll get there over time if you put in the work, okay? This is not a get-rich-quick deal. This is you put in the efforts and you'll be rewarded for your efforts, all right? So we got that. So write down that link. You got it? Boom. Love it. All right. So next, attack. All right. So you got your territory, how you're reaching out to your sellers, where you're getting your list from, the type of lists you're going after. You've gotten your phone number for that list. Now it's action time, baby. Time to pick up that phone, smile, and dial. The reason why they say smile and dial, if you've ever wondered this, is because you can hear a smile through the phone. If you're not smiling when you're talking to sellers, they can hear it. Okay. People do business with those they know, like, and trust. You don't want to say, hey, I'm calling you about your property. No, you probably don't want to sell, do you? No, I don't. Okay. Don't want to do that. Nobody wants to talk to someone that talks like that. Okay. They want to talk to someone that says, hey, came across your property. I've went through Main Street. Want to see if you consider a cash offer. Great. I just have a few questions to ask you. I'm so excited that we had a chance to connect today. I was hoping I'd reach you. Took a look at your house, love the property, and would like to know a little bit more about it. Is that okay? Do you have a few more minutes we could go over that? Sure. Great. Have a conversation. All right. The best way to monitor this is put a mirror in front of you while you're dialing. And if you're not smiling, you don't have permission to dial. Okay. So make sure you're smiling, then you can start dialing. All right. So attack, document your results, and critique yourself at the end of the day. Where did I mess up? This call went sideways. Why did that happen? Right? Write it down. The seller gave me this objection. I didn't know how to overcome it. Write it down. Look up the answer. Go back. Understand that objection is going to come around again at some point from another seller. And that seller is going to give it to you. And because you took the time to write it down, diagnose your problem, you're going to be able to fire off that rebuttal. You're going to get the deal, and you're going to feel so amazing because you did exactly what I told you to do. No, because you took the time out to learn from your mistakes. Okay. Mistakes are not failure if you learn from them. Okay. If you fail to learn from your mistakes become a failure. So just know that. Next, let's talk about consistent daily activity. You're not going to get deals dialing for an hour or two a day, 1 day a week. It's not going to happen. It may take a year for you to get a deal. And anybody getting started, if you have a job that prevents you from doing enough activity, minimum 2 hours a day into your business, minimum. And that 2 hours cannot be spent on diddling on your desk, creating websites, making logos, chatting on Facebook. No, that has to be focused on picking up the phone, making calls to sellers, and getting deals. All right. That's what it's all about. All right. So that being said, those 2 hours solely dedicated to hitting the phones, calling sellers, either talking with sellers or you're fighting to get in front of sellers. That's what your main job is when you're first getting started. Nothing else matters. Nothing. Not your Google Places business number, it doesn't, none of that stuff matters. All it matters is deals and dollars. That's all I want you to focus on when you're first getting started. Okay. Even seasoned people lose sight of this. They grow to a certain point. Maybe they grew to like $500,000 in their business, and they're wondering why they can't grow past that. They're wondering why they're stuck. They feel like they're on a glass ceiling and they want to get to 7 figures, but they just can't figure it out. I guarantee you it's because they're not focusing on deals and dollars. They grew their business to a point where they've had some success. Their ego starts coming into play. I'm awesome, right? I grew the business of this. And then they start kicking back and they stop doing the things that got them the deals in the first place. And then they wonder why they're not moving past that. If you want to break through barriers in your life and your business, you got to pay attention to what you're doing that works and continue doing it. Do not stop what's working. Okay. If you stop what's working is going to stop working. All right. So consistent daily activity. There's a great book that I want you guys to read. It's by Darren Hardy. It's called The Compound Effect. This talks about the science of small activities done every single day, how they compound over time, and how small activity can yield big results. 2 hours a day may seem like small, right? But over time, you're going to yield huge results and it's going to get you where you want to go. So that being the case, get that book, Darren Hardy, The Compound Effect, very good book. Also, another great book is called The One Thing by Gary Keller, the founder of Keller Williams. Great book. Highly recommend that. Focus and consistency are the two things that hold most wholesalers back. And if a wholesaler comes to me and they say, Chris, I'm at 2 deals a month, what do I need to do to go to 5 deals a month? Okay. It's guaranteed. It's paying attention to what they're doing to see what works, and consistency. That's all it is. Okay. Doing more of what works, consistency. That's really what it comes down to. Okay. Next, some people will tell you only make an offer to certain sellers in certain situations. The seller may not be ready for an offer, whatever the case is. Every seller is ready for an offer. Okay. So I want you to focus on making an offer to every single seller. Even if you think in your mind, this person's not that motivated. I don't know if they're going to want to accept my offer. They will accept your offer. Okay. So what type of offer should you make if you're just getting started? 50 to 60% of the value of the property. How do you find the value of the property? You find 3 properties on PropStream that are fully renovated, that look like your property within 10 years of the build date. So if your property is built in 1960, you want to look at properties between 1940 and 1970, 10 years up, 10 years down, within 20% of the square footage. PropStream does this for you. Okay. And then you want to find properties that are within a 1/4 mile to a 1/2 mile max. All right. So that combination is already set up in PropStream for you. So all you do is you find 2 properties that are like your property, but are fully renovated. You'll know that it's fully renovated because you're going to open the property pictures. You're going to look at it and be like, wow, that looks nice, right? You don't say that about properties that don't look nice. So, and then once PropStream takes that average value for quick purposes, take that average value and then make that seller an offer 50 to 55% or 50 to 60% of that number. That is your offer to the seller. Okay. You start there, you learn your market, find out what works, what doesn't work, but that's a great starting point. All right. So now you got you're making your offers. You know what to do, right? Fantastic. If anyone has any questions on this, I get a lot of questions about offers. So drop your comments there. If you have any questions, happy to answer them. A lot of complicated formulas out there for wholesalers. I don't believe in any of them, right? Flat percentage method has been what's worked best for us and is what's got us the most deals. We lost a lot of deals in the beginning because we started using complicated formulas that only do one thing, cause you to lose deals with sellers because your offers are too low. So when you start making offers, 50, 60%, right, of the after repaired value or the value of the property, doing it like I showed you, right, you're going to get more offers accepted. Okay. So make an offer to every seller. That's key. All right. Next, manage your pipeline of leads. Guys, this is critical. Okay. Too many people have leads coming in and they think they need more leads. They're like, Chris, I need more leads. I need more leads. And then I look at their CRM where they have all their leads stored. I take a look at their leads. Guess what? They haven't followed up with, like, there's a seller that said, call me tomorrow. They have a note in there, call this seller tomorrow. I look in their system. They didn't call the seller tomorrow. They didn't call the seller that day. Big problem. Okay. We have a saying in my company that if I was able to pull someone random off the street, plop them down in front of my CRM where I have all my leads and look at my leads, they should be able to tell exactly where I'm at in the sales process with every single lead. Okay. And if a lead does not result in a contract, it needs to have a task, some type of follow-up reminder, an outcome of that situation where you're going to follow up with that seller in the future. Seller's not ready to sell right now. Call me in January, whatever. Cool. You have notes. Seller was not interested now, wants to wait till after the holidays to sell. From there, you have a task set up for a specific day and time that you've gotten from the seller to give them a call back. Okay. Got to do that. Most wholesalers do not need more leads. They need better management of their leads. All right. So that being the case, you want to go ahead and make sure you're being a good steward of opportunity. The Bible talks about that, right? Being a good steward of opportunity. Because if you're faithful in the small, you'll be faithful in all. Okay. Same thing applies to leads. If you're handling a small amount of leads well, you will handle a large amount of leads well. So you are setting the stage. You're having that 7-figure mindset where you're like, okay, I'm going to grow this beyond 1 deal a month, 2 deals a month, 3 deals a month in the future, right? And in order to do that, I got to be a good steward of my opportunity. I have to pay attention to my activity, track my results, and do more of what's working. And that will take you to the promised land of where you guys want to go. Okay? So manage your pipeline of leads, making sure that you're following up with every lead in your system, no lead left behind. You always have documented specifics of what happened after every call, and you have a task as a follow-up reminder of when to reach out to that seller again. So you have a breakdown of the conversation, and you have a time to get back with that seller and get back with them. Okay? All right. So review your activity, know your numbers. I've hammered this already. So you're making calls. How many calls did it take you to get to a seller? How many hours of dialing did it take you to get? How many leads did it take you to get a contract, right? You got to know all those numbers. The most important numbers that I can tell you when you're making calls in the beginning, when it comes to cold calling, there's a lot of different metrics you can track, but when cold calling, it's really leads to contract is what it is. How many leads did it take you to get a contract? That's the needle movers. There's a lot of fancier ways you can track it, but it's not necessary, okay? Now, when it comes to acquisitions, so you're picking up the phone, you're making calls, sellers, making offers, okay? So what you want to track is the most impactful metrics that you can track each week is number of dials. So how many sellers did you have to call to, how many sellers did you dial that week? Out of those dials, how many contracts did you get, right? Or excuse me, number of dials, how many offers did you make? And then lastly, how many contracts did you get? Dials, offers, contracts. You see those 3 numbers? You can pretty much reverse engineer whatever level of success you want to go to. Okay? Guys, light the comments section up. I want to see your questions here. Put your questions in the comments. Even if you just think what we're going over with is pretty freaking cool, drop that in the comments. I want to hear it because I thrive off of interaction and what you guys have to say. So go ahead and drop that in the comments. Love to hear it, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching in the Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple Facebook group. I want to hear it. So go ahead and drop that in the comments. Okay. All right. Next, add buyers to your list daily. Okay. So we have a motto in Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple, find your buyer first. So before you even start marketing for sellers, you want to start building your list of buyers. Okay. But beyond that, where do you find them? Facebook groups is a great place to start. So beyond that, you want to make sure that you're adding buyers to your list every single day. Okay. 5 buyers added to your list a day keeps drop deals at bay. Add either a cash buyer, a realtor, or a wholesaler. Cash buyer, realtor, or wholesaler, add them to your list. Where I mean a list, email marketing service. You can go with MailChimp. It's a free service. And they give you up to 500 contacts, I believe, that you can go ahead and add for no charge. Great for starting out in the very beginning. All right. So adding buyers to your list daily. The wholesalers that I see dropping the most deals are the people that are not adding the most buyers to their list. So add buyers to your list, 5 a day, keep drop deals at bay, and I promise you, you'll get to where you want to go. All right. Then you're going to be adding so many buyers to your list. You're going to be a resource for other wholesalers eventually. Other wholesalers will say, hey, John, I came across this property. I have it under contract. I don't need buyers for it. Do you? You can say, well, yes, I do. They're going to be like, can you sell it for me? Sure. Can you take half of my assignment fee to sell it for me? I most certainly can. Great. Boom. Done. Sell that deal for them, get paid. That's getting paid off a free deal. So you can see building your buyers list early, consistently, and quickly is the formula for you to do more deals. All right. So guys, that right there is how to go ahead and do deals. Okay. Virtual wholesaling from start to finish. Hope you enjoyed that. Broke it down. That's all you need to do. It's all you need to focus on. If you have found value in this live stream here today, there's a little ticker going along the bottom here where you can go ahead and apply for coaching, right? So if you found value in what you got here today, you'd like to get the results that we're getting and our clients are getting, then go to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com and apply for coaching. I'll go ahead and see those applications start rolling in. I will review them. And if I like what you have to say, then I'll consider bringing you on to the into our community and program. So the first step is applying. After you apply, what we'll do is we'll hop on a quick call, right? Just make sure it's a good fit for both of us. No pressure. If it works, it's great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. I have a lot of people I talk to on a daily basis. I'm looking for the people that are motivated, that are going to be consistent, that are coachable, and are willing to put in the work right now because they understand that will get them to the result that they truly want, right? And they're looking for life-changing income. So that's who I'm looking for. So if you have a job right now, you're kind of stuck in a cubicle and you're frustrated, real estate is your destiny. You want to create a better and brighter future with that, have more freedom. You want to provide for your family in the way that you want to provide for them. You want to have more freedom, all that. Fill out the application. Let's hop on a call. I'd love to help you do that. I left corporate America 10 years ago. Now it's 11 years, I believe. 11 years ago with my wife, and we haven't looked back since. We've been wholesaling since. We used wholesaling to get out of corporate America. This isn't something I've only done 1 or 2 deals. I've done over 600 deals in our company, in our time frame of doing this. And it's something that we're very passionate about. We've seen the freedom it creates for us. We've been able to travel to amazing places like the Caribbean, lots of different places there, all over the United States, to masterminds and meet some really amazing people. And, it's just opened up the doors to some pretty phenomenal lifestyle. So if you guys want to break into real estate, get started virtual wholesaling, maybe you're a local wholesaler, you're frustrated and you're not getting any traction, you want to go virtual, even if it's in your own market, then fantastic. Book a call. I'd love to talk with you and see if we're going to be a good fit. So if anybody has any questions, I'd love to answer those. Max, Lead Fusion gets better numbers than PropStream, Skip Trace. Okay, so yes. So what I found is, number one, Lead Fusion is less when it comes to the price per skip, because with us, you get 6 cents. PropStream is 10 cents, right? And the other thing about Lead Fusion is I've used them exclusively outside of 1 or 2 other companies, but I no longer use those other companies anymore. I've used Lead Fusion exclusively for the past 7 years, and their data is spot on. So I'd highly recommend them because they also provide email addresses, which is pretty cool for sellers. Especially if you have a small group of sellers you want to reach out to and you can't get them on the phone, send them an email. And that's pretty awesome and game-changing. A lot of people charge extra for that. But yes, so Lead Fusion is great. Guys, I'm a data-driven person. And what does that mean? That means I like to know how things work and how accurate things are. I don't just like to come on here and go, guys, this is the best service, use this. This is the best thing, use that, without fully testing it out and vetting it out. What I've done is I have taken all the skip tracing companies that you guys see, all of them, even the most popular skip tracing companies you guys have seen. I put them on a spreadsheet and I've evaluated which ones have the most accuracy combined with the best pricing. And Lead Fusion, by far, from what I've seen, so far has been the best in those categories. So yes, Lead Fusion, go with it. Go to leadfusionlists.com/page/ let me give you all the forward slashes here. 1 second. Boom. There you go. I'm trying to remember that. I'm working on an easier link. Don't worry. I'm working on an easier link. But yes, so go there. And plus, what we're doing is also we're throwing in 1,000 free skip traces for you guys too, just because you went to that link and signed up. And then we're also throwing in 1,000, I believe, like 1,000 records in there too, property records in there as well. So dive into that. Hope you guys got value from today's presentation. And I'll look forward to connecting with you throughout the week in the Facebook group. If we have a free group on Facebook, Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple, look for it there. And yeah, I'll look forward to connecting with you guys. So hope you all have a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and I'll talk soon. I'll leave it open one more second for questions. If anybody else has any questions, I'll leave it open one more second, then I'm going to sign off here. Okay. So what do you do with your leads that don't close? Yeah. So go ahead and expand on that just a little bit. Now I only have a few minutes here because I have another appointment I got to get to, but I want to make sure I answer your question. So when you say leads that don't close, what do you mean leads that don't close? When you say leads that don't close? Are you talking about like if you put a property under contract and it falls through? Are you talking about if a seller does not accept your offer? Is that what you mean? 100 leads, call them, and 3 close. Okay, so you're talking about the gap. Now, when you say close, just to make sure we're speaking the same language here, are you talking about putting the property under contract? Or are you talking about does not accept their offer? Okay. So if you talk to, so what you want to do is if you have a closing ratio, an offer acceptance ratio of 20 to 30%, okay, that's very good. 30% is amazing. You're a rock star. 20% is kind of like the benchmark, right? So for instance, if you have 100 leads and only 3 of them close, so at that point, there's a lot that goes in there. So number one, these leads, are these cold leads? Like you pulled a list of 100 records and you called down the list and then you got some leads from that and then 3 of them closed? Or are you talking about you have 100 verified seller leads that reached out, said they were interested in selling? Okay, so these are cold leads. Okay, cold leads. So 3 out of 100 actually is not that bad. You know, typically with cold leads, it's like 10% conversion, right? So if you have 100 leads, typically 10% of those are going to turn into a contract. So usually it's 100 leads to 1 contract, right? So that's great. Those are great numbers, man. I would keep doing that. So that's hustle. That's what I'm talking about. So you hustle to get that first contract that way. And then once you get that money, you take 20% from that and you reinvest back into your marketing. You reinvest in marketing, okay? And you turn that into a deal, right? You get that next deal much easier. So 100 leads to a contract. Now, if you were to tell me these were 100 warm leads, now these people reached out, they expressed that they were interested in selling and they're warm leads. They're not cold leads, meaning you just didn't pull this from PropStream and go down the list. These are people that reached out to you, right? And they were interested in selling. And if you're converting 1 out of 100, that's not, you want to improve your closing ratio there, right? But in your case, sounds like you're a rock star and I love that. So what do you do with the other 99? All right. So here's the thing. Cold leads, what I do when we're calling through those, if someone wants to sell in, 6 months or more or greater than 90 days, but they have other pieces of motivation, right? Like price, they have a motivating reason they want to sell. For those, what we do is we continue to cycle them in our list, right? Meaning we have a dialer that we use. And if someone says they want to sell in greater than 90 days, right? What happens is the dialer will take them out of our list for 30 days or 60 days. I can't remember which one. And then it puts them back. Then they go through, we call the list again, we approach that seller again, and then they're like, okay, now I'm ready to sell, right? So that's how we do it that way. But in your situation, in your case, when you go through 100 leads, okay, you're calling them, hand dialing one by one. I'm assuming that's what you're doing. If you're hand dialing them one by one, what I would do is I would focus all your time, energy, and effort in the sellers that you got the 4 pillars of motivation from. So you got the price, timeline, motivation, and condition. So those sellers, those are the ones I'd focus on your follow-ups with. The gap, the difference, I would only go back to some of those leads, like if you did, the people you didn't get a hold of, things like that. I would only go to those as after you've gone through following up with all the actual leads that you got, the sellers that were interested in selling, but maybe not right now. Only go to those cold leads again until after you fully vetted that list of sellers that you have. And so what you want to do is you want to have clear notes after every call. And then you want to create a task, some type of reminder to remind you of the next date of follow-up. Seller says, not ready to sell now. My dad's in really critical condition, and he's going to, I'm not sure if he's going to make it. So call me after the first of the year and we'll talk, right? That type of person, document that. You want to be sensitive to the situation, and then create a task to follow up with that person in the future, right? So every conversation you have a comment, right? A breakdown of what happened and a task letting you know what to do, like when the next stage of follow-up is. You ever try to do a lease option, sub 2 other options? Okay, so I don't. And the reason I don't do that is because I find when you're a wholesaler and you have all these strategies that you use, most people who are just getting started that are not doing deals consistently don't have the expertise to cycle through all those different options for people on the call. So they're doing like 4 different strategies, not doing any of them well, and they're not getting any deals. They think it's going to help them get more deals, but it's really not, right? It actually is holding them back from doing more deals. I'm not saying that's you. I don't know if that's you or not, but what I'd recommend when you're just starting out, unless you're doing deals consistently, I'd recommend start with one strategy, which is wholesaling, and do that for 1.5 years. Only that one strategy. That's it. All right. And run that for 1.5 years. And then after you've done that, if you want to start adding to other strategies, you can, but you can't do it until you're getting consistent deals from your existing, from wholesaling, from that one strategy. Awesome, guys. Hey, like Max says, I have an appointment I got to get to. They're going to be upset with me if I don't get to it right now. I hate being late. I believe actually to be early is to be on time. So, but breaking my own rule here, I got to get going. Guys, this has been fun. Loved it. Post your comments. I'll do my best to get back to you, to people who ask questions that we didn't answer in the call today. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great one.